Hey everyone, welcome back to the Exponent Solution Architect mock interview series. My name is Mohammed. I am a solutions architect with Dropbox, and I'm joined here today with Pulkit. We're back here again for another solutions architect demo mock interview. So as we mentioned in the last episode, demos are something that you do on a pretty regular basis as a solutions architect, but it's also something that is a part of the interview process as well. So Pulkit will be demoing, I believe it's MongoDB. But before we jump right into that, Pulkit, would you like to reintroduce yourself to any of the newer viewers today?
Absolutely. Thanks, Mohammed. Hi, everyone. My name is Pulkit Mathur. I'm a senior solutions architect at Salesforce. I live in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, where I've been living for the past 7 years. I've been a solutions architect for quite some years now and have been in the industry for about 13 years. So like Mohammed said, I'm going to be demoing MongoDB today. Before that, I just need to make a small disclaimer. So even though I'm an employee of Salesforce, whatever I say here today is in my personal capacity and does not relate to Salesforce in any way.
Awesome. All right. So with that, I'll be acting as the interviewer, and then Pulkit will be the interviewee. And like Pulkit said, we'll be doing a mock demo. So Pulkit, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mohammed. Would you mind acting as the customer who I'm demoing DB to?
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. So let's start. Let's get into character. Nice. First of all, Mohammed, thank you for the time. I know you are incredibly busy, so thank you very much for giving me this 30 minutes in your very full calendar. My name is Pulkit Mathur. I'm a senior solutions architect with MongoDB, and I'm going to be demoing MongoDB to you today. So before going to the demo, I just want to reconfirm my understanding of your situation. I've had a few notes from the sales rep that I work with and with whom you talked previously, but I just want to reconfirm, what I read. So as far as I know, you are one of the biggest e-commerce sites in the US right now. You've been in operation for the last 10 years or so. And currently you have revenues of about 10 million USD. Now, the primary concern is that you are spending a lot of your time, approximately 400 man hours per year, maintaining your on-premise databases and fine-tuning its performance. So it was fine when you were starting up, but now as you know, your data is growing, your current database is really proving insufficient for your needs. So in total, you spend around 1 million USD on database licensing, hosting, and maintenance costs right now. Does that sound like a approximately right figure?
Yeah. That's around how much we've been spending. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. I also got to know that recently an incorrect patch was applied to the database by the database team, which led to your website being inaccessible for about 30 minutes or so. And you estimate that you lost a large amount of money. I just have a question. Do you mind sharing how much that amount was or what you lost?
Yeah. So that happened a couple of weeks back, and pretty detrimental, even though it was only for 30 minutes. It was around $100,000.
Okay. Wow, that's a big amount. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. In addition, what I also understand is that you are looking for other features as well. For example, a full text search for your e-commerce website. So you do have a search product right now to enable, fast and efficient searching on your e-commerce website, but it is not performing up to scratch.
Right.
So, okay, cool. Sounds good. So first of all, let me just give you a short introduction about MongoDB. Because you are used to relational databases, I'm just going to give you an introduction about what NoSQL databases are. And then, I'm going to take you a little bit into MongoDB's hood and make you really see, what is beneath the hood. And then I'm going to take you to the product itself. And we are going to go through the different, areas of the MongoDB product. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Perfect. So what's MongoDB? So MongoDB is a scalable, high-performance, document-oriented database. Now, databases are typically divided into two categories, SQL and NoSQL, right? So NoSQL databases are further categorized into a few categories, and one of them is document DB. So NoSQL really rose into prominence when the amount of data that had to be stored in a DB, it grew at a really exponential pace. And these NoSQL DBs are really good at high performance, easy readability. So the idea of NoSQL databases, it basically stems from objects, right? So in the real world, in software, we use objects all the time. And the idea with NoSQL databases is to really store information related to a single object, such as a customer, let's say, which might include info like his name, purchases, billing, etc., in a single place, so that it is easier and performant to retrieve, as opposed to storing this info across multiple tables in a relational DB and joining them and retrieving it when it needs to be retrieved. So in this way, NoSQL databases are really, let's say, in line with what you use on the front end, that is object and consolidated information. So basically that's what MongoDB is. Now, a couple of use cases, where MongoDB is really great. So specifically for web applications like yourself, like e-commerce site, we think MongoDB is a great product. Also, it is really great when you have to store semi-structured data as opposed to structured data. So SQL databases, they are only great at storing only structured and relational data, right? In addition, MongoDB, it supports really necessary features like caching and high scalability out of the box, which relational DBs do not do. So that said, it is all MongoDB is not good for a couple of use cases. So for example, if you really want to use SQL, if you have only SQL developers in your company, right, and they want to use only SQL, then you have to really get into sync with them if they are comfortable using a new product like MongoDB. And if it is a highly transactional application that you have, then MongoDB might not be the best fit. That said, as you see on the screen, some of the biggest companies in the world, like the Guardian, Craigslist, Disney, GitHub, etc., they use MongoDB to power their day-to-day database workloads. So let's dive in and see how it works beneath the hood, right? So collection is basically, you can think about collection as you think about a table, right? So a relational DB is basically made up of tables which store related information, whereas NoSQL DB is really made up of collections. So a collection, as opposed to relational DBs, is schemaless, which means that you can store semi-structured data in it as well, which is a huge advantage for web applications, of course. Then we dive one level deeper. So document is basically an object, and you can basically relate it to a row in a relational DB. So it can also have a primary key similar to a relational DB, which can really ensure uniqueness of a document in a particular collection, right? So this is how a typical object in the NoSQL world looks like. So you can relate, the things on the left side of the columns to, for example, columns in a relational DB. So normally you would have a table which has, for example, this data in a particular row, and it would have columns like ID, author, title, body, and all these values like 3432, introduction to MongoDB, etc., would be a row in that particular table. Whereas in the NoSQL world, this object is stored within a particular document. So this is what we call a document in the NoSQL world, and a collection of these documents is called a collection. Is it all clear up till here, Mohammed, or do you have any questions?
No, all of this makes sense so far.
Perfect. So let's go to why MongoDB is so performant and can scale so quickly, right? So basically, in the backend, we have many replicas for MongoDB. So as you see, we have a primary replica, which is used to both read and write. And then we have secondary replicas to which data is synced at regular intervals to ensure that data is in sync. And these secondary replicas are typically only used for read operations. Now, replication, what it does is it provides redundancy to your database. So with multiple copies of data on different database servers, replication provides a level of fault tolerance against the loss of a single database server, which is really crucial in your case, since downtime of even a minute can result in the loss of hundreds of thousands of dollars, like you saw. So what you can also do is you can also maintain additional copies for dedicated purposes like disaster recovery, reporting, or backup. So with disaster recovery built in MongoDB, if your primary replica fails due to any reason whatsoever, the data can still be read from the secondary replica. And the secondary replica can be appointed as the primary replica instantaneously so that there is absolutely no loss of data. So I have a question here. So do you feel this would be an improvement over how you are currently doing fault handling? Or would you like to share how do you do it right now?
Yeah, no, I think seeing this would be way better, because right now it's all of it is very resource intensive and very manual. So I think this would definitely help out.
Makes sense. Okay. So now MongoDB can be deployed on premise, of course, but MongoDB also has a fully managed database as a service, which is called MongoDB Atlas, which means that MongoDB takes care of the hosting, security, version upgrades. So everything related to maintaining the backend, and you are only responsible for working on what really matters to you. That is your data. In addition, MongoDB Atlas also gives you more features on top, like you can check which of your queries are most slow. You can, MongoDB can automatically suggest indexes whose creation can lead to optimization. And of course, you can automatically create those indexes which will lead to that. So now we are going to deep dive into how MongoDB Atlas works. So just give me 1 second. Right. So this is how the MongoDB console looks like when you first log in. I already have a cluster here, so you can kind of disregard it right now, but I'm going to, take you right from level 0 to level 5. So first of all, when you log into MongoDB Atlas, the first thing you would typically want to do is create a database, right? So you would ideally click on this button here, which can create a database for you. Sorry, a cluster. So we have really 3 kind of, different types using which, you can create a cluster. So first of all, serverless. So this is a new offering by MongoDB where you only pay for the operations that you run. And then whatever time, for example, at night, if there are no transactions coming in for that period of time, you do not pay anything. So this is really suitable for workloads with variable traffic. For example, if you have a development team which only works during the day, you can provision a serverless DB for them so that they can only work during the day and costs are incurred only during the day. So this is something that you can use in that scenario. Then you have dedicated, and this means that you pay a flat rate per hour per cluster type, and you get a dedicated cluster for your workloads. So for our demo, we are going to use a dedicated cluster so that I can show you all the advanced services that are useful. And of course, we work seamlessly with all big 3 cloud providers, and you can deploy your MongoDB database in whatever region you use. So one thing also which I would like to point out is that you have different, sizes of clusters here. So depending on your requirement, you can use M10, M20, or, you can really customize your cluster itself. So after this call, maybe we can do a deep dive into, how many transactions do you expect per second, per day? And then, we can accordingly size your database cluster, which might be the most suitable. And then finally, we have free, which is shared. So this is really for just playing around with MongoDB, checking out, what the features are. So it is not very useful from a production viewpoint. Right. So I've already created a cluster for you. So let's see. So this is my cluster, which is called my cluster, of course. But before we go that, we know that there are a couple of things which are really, really important. So I think one of those things is security, right? So if you have to look at our security options, all you have to do is go here, and here we have the database users, right? So here you can really control who can really access this DB. So you can add a new user here. You can say that they have to authenticate with a password, with a certificate, and recently we have also started integrating with AWS IAM. So what you can do is you can also build in roles. For example, developers can be a role that you can build in here, and so on. So no matter how you want your database users to authenticate, MongoDB supports all things out of the box. Do you have any particular security requirements, by the way, about, how do you want to connect your applications, or how do you want to secure MongoDB access right now?
Yeah, so we everything has to go through SSO. So we use Okta as our identity provider. So we definitely want to make sure that this is compatible with that. Are you guys compatible with identity providers like Okta?
Right. So I do know that we are definitely compatible with AWS IAM, but
Okay.
regarding Okta, I will have to check it out. But let me out and get back to you.
Okay, got it. And then another question that I had here was, if I want to add users, is that all done manually? Like, do I have to click on add new database user and then fill out all that information? Or is there a way where I can, like, bulk, add a bunch of different users?
So right now you have to add users in the console itself if you want to add them one by one. Whereas if you're federated authentication service like AWS, then you add these users one by one. You just have to create these and assign roles to them. So it is really simple.
Okay, yeah. I think that's all I had.
Perfect. One more question that I had for you. So how do you plan to connect to your new database? Do you have any applications written in some particular languages that are going to be connected to this?
Yeah, so we have some Python applications that we would definitely like to connect. We also have like an AWS VPC too, that there's any way that we can connect that to MongoDB. But yeah, primarily just those two.
All right, cool. So first of all, let's talk about network access and network connectivity. So if you go to this network access tab here, you'll see that there are these IP addresses which, for example, only these IP addresses can access MongoDB. So this is really safe, so that nobody else other than these IP addresses can do it. Secondly, if you have an AWS VPC already, what you can do is you can create a peering connection. So your AWS VPC can talk to the Atlas VPC. So the connection is really, really stable compared to going over public connections. So we do have that. So, okay. And then you also talked about connecting your applications. So let's talk a little bit about that. So a cluster can be connected in many, many ways, of course. So for example, you can connect it using MongoDB shell, which is, basically just a interactive JavaScript interface. Secondly, if you want to connect your applications, for example, you mentioned Python, right? So we do offer native drivers for a lot of languages that you can see here, and using that, your applications can use these drivers and natively connect to MongoDB. So we do offer that functionality. In addition, we also have a lot of things. So for example, you can connect to your cluster using MongoDB Compass as well, which is basically our GUI. And whatever operations you can perform on the console, you can also do it using the MongoDB Atlas. So, and of course, for developers, you can connect to a MongoDB host in Visual Studio Code as well. So it is natively integrated there as well. Finally, if you're using a business intelligence tool, for example, Power BI or Click, you can also connect your business intelligence tool directly here. So you can visualize the data in that tool directly. So these are all the connection options that we have. So now let's deep dive into the cluster itself. But before we do that, do you have any other questions about connections or network, or how your users are going to access it?
Yeah. So when connecting to an app, what if we decide to take on a new project that's not in Python, and it's not one of those languages that y'all have listed there? Is there still a way to connect to MongoDB?
That's a great question. Yes. So we do have something called a data API, which you can see here. So what it means is that using just a client ID, any application that is able to make an HTTP call can connect to your MongoDB as well.
Okay.
So for example, if there is any new application, this is where you can grant that new application their own API key, and you can monitor basically how often that application has created a connection to your MongoDB. So
okay.
Yes, for sure.
Cool.
Okay. Perfect. So let's dive into the cluster right now. So as you see, we have this cluster up and running right now. Now, the most important part of your cluster is, of course, the data inside it. So let's deep dive into what we have right now. So as you see, we have this collections tab right now, right? So this collections tab is really important since it lets you visualize your documents and the fields inside it. So I've already loaded some sample data. So let's see how it looks like. So as you see, we have a lot of data here. For example, you have some sample Airbnb listing and reviews. So you can visually see all your data here. So let's see one of these. So for example, there is a listing URL, the name, summary, bed type, bedrooms, whatever you are going to expect in an Airbnb listing. Let's look at something else. So we have some sample restaurants here as well. Let's see what's in there. So you would find everything that you would expect from a restaurant. For example, the borough in which it is in. So they are in New York, of course, and then the cuisine, the name of the restaurant ID. So let's see how we can actually search through all this data, right? So for example, I see a field called cuisine here. So let's see how I can find, let's say, a cuisine type, which is bakery. So basically, I want to find restaurants who are bakeries. So very simple to do it. Let me just type in cuisine, and let me type in bakery, and let me hit apply. I hope there are some bakeries here, so we get some results. And just so you know, what I've done with this cluster is this is the smallest cluster that can be created. So that's why, it took a couple of seconds to retrieve the results. When we are going to size it according to your requirement, then, the search is going to take a lot less time, of course. So we have a couple of bakeries here, of course, and then, you see all the results returned with all the bakeries. So what you can also do here is right from here, you can also insert a document in this collection. So let me just insert this one. So as you see, MongoDB already generates a unique ID for a doc for you. Let's just name this document, let's say, John's Burgers, and let's just click insert. So now this document is inserted. And if I have to find my document, all I got to do is just type in the name, John's Burgers, and just click apply. Oh, I think we made a typo.
I think there's an S at the end of burgers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, bingo. Here we go. Right. So this is the doc that I just inserted. And of course, if I want to change this doc, that can also be done from right here. So if I want to, correct the spelling, for example, I can just say John's Burgers and just say update. So very simple, very intuitive, of course. So you can search, modify, insert new docs into your collections. You can do everything like that from here. One other very powerful feature that we have here is aggregation pipelines. So let's go look at what they are. So the aggregation pipeline feature is really unique because it allows you to build and test each unique stage of your aggregation, right? Thus giving you very, very granular control. And it helps make complex aggregations a little bit more digestive. So as you see here, we have stages here, and let me just show you how it works, right? So for example, if I want to do a couple of aggregations on the documents that I have, let's take an example. So I want to see the top 5 restaurants that are in the borough Brooklyn, right? So we have 2 steps here. So for example, 2 things that we have to do, and let's see how we can do it. So the first step is finding all the restaurants in Brooklyn. So let's go to the match filter here and search for restaurants in Brooklyn. Again, it is very simple to write. So for example, what I can say is borough is Brooklyn. It's with a capital B, I think, Brooklyn. And then you see that MongoDB is already trying to find, what restaurants are in this particular borough. And then you see that there are around 10. Well, this is a sample of 10 documents, but there are, of course, a lot more documents which are in this. So you see, we got all the restaurants here. And then finally, we only need to see the top 5, right? So let's use the limit operator, which is also out of the box supported in MongoDB. And I can just type 5 here, and it is just going to give me the top 5 restaurants for this borough. So this is how you can build really complex aggregation pipelines in MongoDB. This is a very simple example, of course, but you can provide hundreds and hundreds of stages here to, perform really complex operations on the data that is present in your collections. Is there any question you have about this, Mohammed, or is it all good?
No, it's all good. All makes sense to me. I really like the simplicity, yet the simplicity of using it, and then the complexity of the results that you get by using this.
Absolutely agree. All right, so let's now head over to some of our other tabs and see what they do. So let's first of all go to metrics, for example. So here you can see, your various metrics like disk IOPS, like cache usage, and so on. So this is a great place to check what's going on with your cluster and figure out what's wrong if or when something goes wrong. And you have also, quite a lot of things here that you can do. For example, you can add a lot of fields here, queues, replication, query executor, and so on. So you can really customize this dashboard according to what your support team needs. Then let me ask you a question before we go forward, right? So in e-commerce, events like Black Friday and Cyber Monday are really important. So how do you monitor traffic right now on events like this?
Yeah, so we have some scripts that our team have written, maintenance scripts and whatnot to monitor and track events and all, but that it's very buggy, and you're constantly needing to maintain the code and whatnot. So that's why we were looking for something like this to kind of automate that process. And from what I'm seeing right here, this is exactly what we're looking for.
Okay, cool. Well, if you like this, then what I'm going to show you next, you're going to like it even better, I think, because we also have this real-time tab. So what this real-time tab does is this lets you see what is going on with your cluster real time. So this tab can actually help you troubleshoot usage spikes, for example, the kind you would ideally have on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, or for example, queries which are taking a very high amount of time to run. So you can do your live troubleshooting for sure on this real-time tab as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, this is exactly, especially for Black Friday, which was, not too long ago, it was a pain, but I feel like, for next year, if we were to have something like this, then, it'd definitely be way more helpful.
Great to hear, Mohammed. Great to hear. Yeah. Right, let's look at a couple more tabs here. So for example, let's see Profiler. So this Profiler tab is, where you can analyze, past performance from your cluster. And this is a way to really dig deeper into the areas which could really benefit from a performance optimization. And as you can see, only slow operations are shown here to reduce the level of noise so that you can really focus on the transactions that did not, perform as expected. We also have this Performance Advisor tab here. So this is the tab which can help you to automatically provide and implement recommendations to improve your query performances. So you can create suggested indexes, you can drop any indexes which are not required, or you can improve any schemas. And all of this are recommendations that directly MongoDB gives you. You don't have to do any code or any scripting for finding this out. This is all MongoDB. Right. So one last thing which I want to show you is, and which is very much liked by some of our biggest enterprise users, is this Online Archive tab. So this basically lets you archive your data that is not really frequently accessed to avoid, clogging up your cluster, so that you can free up resources and storage in the cluster at a reduced cost. So for example, if you have data from the last year that is not being used right now, you can automatically move into, whatever kind of storage you want to move it to, for example, AWS S3 or, whatever you use, so that your cluster only has the most relevant data to ensure that performance is really good all the time. One other thing that I want to point out is that Atlas is not just linked to database operations. So there are also several services which you can use alongside, such as Atlas Search. I know you also have a requirement to have kind of a search tool in addition to a database tool. So this is where Atlas Search comes in. So Atlas Search is basically a fully managed search engine that automatically syncs to your DB. Right? It is built on top of Apache Lucene, and what it does is it completely removes the need for a separate search product. So with this, you can really create search indexes, you can create natural language search queries, and you have capabilities like autocomplete. So using Atlas Search on top of storing documents in MongoDB, you can ensure that both your needs, which is a fully managed DB and a text search engine, both of these needs are met with a single product. So thus you remove the need to duplicate your data across multiple systems, of course. And let me just give you a quick tour of how it looks like. So if we go back to collections, and if we, for example, go here, so we are back in our sample restaurants database. And let me go to restaurants, and these are the search indexes. So search is really completely integrated into MongoDB. It is not a separate product as such that you have to maintain, separately from this. So from here, of course, you can just, create a search index, and it provides you all the features that we talked about, such as custom storing, rich query DSL, and autocomplete features. So this is what I had to show you, Mohammed. I hope you found it useful. Do you have any questions about the product as such right now?
I no questions, but I definitely would like to see. I remember you showed earlier on that you can connect to BI tools. So we do use Tableau. So I wanted to know if there is a way to integrate this with Tableau, and I would definitely like to see that in a follow-up call.
Okay, cool. No, that sounds good. That sounds good. So from my side, just to give you a complete summary of what we talked about, because I know we have talked about quite a bit. So just to summarize, MongoDB Atlas is a completely managed cloud-based DB that can fulfill all your needs, no matter how large they be or how frequent your database workloads are. And in addition to our capabilities, we also have Atlas Search, which means that all your needs can be met by a single product without the need to duplicate the data across multiple systems, right? Cool. In terms of next steps, you already mentioned that you would like to see the integration with Tableau. Maybe it also makes sense to show you how to create a search index because that was also one of your questions, right? Okay. So are these the top two priority use cases for you, creating search and integration with Tableau?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, great. So I think that is definitely what we can do next. If you agree, what we can also do is we can talk to your solution architect who's currently looking after the database, and we can give him an 10,000 view of how a potential migration might look like from a relational DB to MongoDB. So I think that can also help quite a bit.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you, Mohammed. Thanks for the time, and speak to you soon.
Awesome. All right, and scene. All right, Pulkit, before I go ahead and give my my comments and feedback, how do you think you did in this mock? What do you think you did well in, and what do you think you can improve on for the next time?
I think one thing that I always try to focus on in mocks is having the customer talk as much as possible, right? So I want to know your opinion all the time, what you think about, what is important to you. That is, of course, really important to me as well. I think I could have maybe conversed a little bit more with you in the starting, and maybe since search was such an important feature for you, instead of diving into all the tabs, maybe it could have been an option to create a small search index and show it to you right now in this call. So as an executive, you were convinced that yes, this product can meet all of my high level technical needs. I think that is something I could have done.
Yeah. So some comments from myself. I think that you did a really good job, especially from last time. You made sure to focus on the application itself. So you got rid of the bookmarks tab, which for the viewers at home, that can actually be a pretty big important thing. You want to limit as many distractions as possible, especially if you're doing a virtual screen sharing demo. You want to focus in on the product that you're demoing, right? So you did a really good job getting rid of distractions. The slides were really good, easy to follow. You did a mix and match of having text-based slides, but then also having diagrams in there. So I think you did really good with that. You also stuck with the MongoDB theme as well with the colors. So to people again at home, these might sound like small things, but these small focuses to attention and detail, they can really speak volume, especially when you're doing a mock interview for, like, if Pulkit was doing a mock interview for MongoDB, showing his interest. You're basically showing your interest into the company by sticking with that theme. So I think you did a really good job with that. I think it's one of the more overlooked things in like an essay interview. I also agree. I think you could have focused a little bit more, like maybe on the search functionality when you were showcasing MongoDB. And I think one thing also to include in your slides is kind of have, like, before let's jump into the demo, kind of give like a little like roadmap, like, all right, so we're about to demo this. These are the touch points that we're going to talk about in the demo. I'm going to show you, the monitoring aspect, how to form a cluster, kind of have that, laid out, just so that, the executive or whoever the client is on the call knows how to follow and knows what's coming up next, right? And it also gives you like a pretty solid, talk track, and allows you to kind of know where you're at as well, instead of kind of just jumping around. So that's my feedback, but overall I think that you did really, really great. and hope that for the viewers at home, you all were able to learn something not just about solutions architect, but even MongoDB. This is my first time seeing it. I think I learned a ton. So yeah, if you guys at home enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and of course subscribe to the Exponent YouTube channel, and make sure to share this video to anyone that you find who you think would find this useful. But yeah, have a good one.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below to let us know that this video was valuable for you. And of course, check out hundreds more videos just like this at tryexponent.com. Thanks for watching and good luck on your upcoming interview.